honorable member came up.
Even if I did, but I didn't. But actually I did it, so I don't see the basis of some objection. Can we?
Honorable Agyapong, sir, please, you are out of order.
Yes,
you are out of order. Okay.
My comment is made.
All right.
Who is the person?
Yes, sir. Okay. I thought I would give the members the opportunity to ask their questions, but from the interaction.
You say NDC chairman. Are you IPP chairman? So this is not dichotomized. As IPP chairman, NDC chairman.
Honorable Katie, you please, I said it in jest. So can we? Let's take it. Let's take it. Let's take it in that context. Okay.
You pasted your colors to the proceedings. Let's go on.
Okay. Honorable Minister, the interaction between yourself and the Honorable Katie Hammond, my co-chair, with respect to Article 183 of the Constitution, in terms of the constitutional mandate of the Bank of Ghana, would seem to suggest that the issue of currency, depreciation, the management of the stability of the national currency should be laid, at the doorsteps of the Bank of Ghana rather than the Ministry of Finance. Is that my understanding?
Mr. Co-Chair, I think your understanding is your understanding.
Well, okay, is my understanding correct?
I think we read the Act.
Well, portions of it. You read portions of it.
Yeah. So,
but
I think
there
you
are
can
also
interpret
other.
But what I mentioned specifically is that we work very, very closely together to make sure that we bring stability.
Right.
Really should be the top line message that you take. As to what my oath is as Minister of Finance and what his responsibilities are, that really is not the subject. The issue for me as a Minister of Finance is the impact that the currency is having, of which I'm very, very concerned about, and doing everything I can to support any way to bring in resources, as we did with the Afri-Exim Bank, to support that, as I mentioned, looking at investment in the rail sector to push that ahead. I don't think this is a time in the country of crisis where we sort of kick the ball to somebody else. With all the energies that we have, the resources we have, we team up, circle the wagons, and move on. And we've been doing that very well, very comfortable with that relationship.
So you would agree with me that there is a strong symbiotic relationship between fiscal and monetary policy, wouldn't you?
It cannot be that there won't be. There has to be. I mean, I don't know what the line of questioning is leading to. Of course, I feel responsible.
Well, you would know in due course. Yes. So, if you were to exceed your borrowing limits in a manner that violates the Fiscal Responsibility Act, don't you think that that should result in a vote of censure of the kind that we are looking at today?
Mr. Chairman, it was your choice to sign up to a censure which brought a conflict of interest issue on this. It was your choice to sign up to a censure on accounts at GMPC, which had nothing to do with me. It is your choice when you look at the gravity of where the nation is and whether you feel strongly, as you have indicated, that the finance should be censured for these original 7 grounds.
Very well. Honorable Minister, do you remember that on June 4th, 2021, you did come to Parliament to provide answers with respect to the energy sector payments to IPPs on the take-or-pay contracts? The question was specifically filed by the Honorable Alassane Suhini, MP for Tamale North. You remember that?
No, I have to. But June 4th is a date we all remember. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know specifically.
Not for the revolutionary upheaval that took place on that day. I'm talking about your answer to Parliament on this matter.
I'll have to be educated.
Okay, so the Hansard of that day captured you. You gave an answer that said that the payments totaled 937 million. Is that what translates into the 17 billion that you have just told this committee is the amount that you paid?
This is June
4th, 2021.
Okay. And this, we are June.
We are in November now,
November
Minister, Honorable Minister.
We are now in November 2022.
Very well.
Yeah. So I'll have to recalculate those numbers to bring to you.
Yes, but you were specific in your answer. You said you 17 billion cities. I think I heard cities.
So what you're talking about is...
Yes. No, I just want him to confirm if that is a figure that translates into 17 billion. Is that very difficult to do?
No, I can't confirm offhand, but I certainly will bring you the arithmetic of it.
Which one? You also said a lot about take or pay contracts that were signed during the Mahama administration, which resulted in the so-called energy sector debts. If you were an investor coming into an economy of this nature, would you build a power plant without a take or pay clause that mandates that if you don't take the power, you pay?
Mr. Chairman, is your
Yes,
co-chair seeking an opinion from
No,
the minister?
No, I'm not.
Because this is a rhetorical question, and you're seeking an opinion.
I'm laying the basis for.
If he were an
Okay,
investor.
can I rephrase the question? Can I rephrase
I
the
think
question?
the Honorable Minister is capable of dealing with this matter. So let him. Let him. Minister, could you kindly just put the question again?
Mr. Co-Chair, you know, honestly, we are in a crisis. I've been brought here for some very disparaging descriptions of who I am and my character and the management of this economy. I'm not here to speculate of what investors may think or not think at a certain point in time. As an investor, at any point in time, you try to take advantage of weaknesses, and depending on the strength of who is beside you, or across from you on the table, you take your pound of flesh. Now, we have gone into some of these contracts and truly recalibrating what they are. So I can't want to be part of a whitewashing of events that did not help us, and is part of the issue why I'm being censured.
Thank you. Has your government or the government of which you are a minister signed any energy sector contracts that contain take or pay clauses?
I'll have to really confirm on that. Yeah.
And you agree with me that take or pay clauses are essential in energy contracts?
There's also a reason why there's take and pay.
Right.
There are reasons why there are other methods of doing that, and that comes with the ability to negotiate. For example, in 2015 or so, the then government, did a $1 billion Eurobond issuance at 10.75%. and required a bank wraparound. We have subsequently done much more with lower rates. So I think it's It's an issue of maybe competence or an understanding of how to negotiate. I think we'll be chasing our tail if we go along this line.
Okay. I will give members the opportunity to take their turn, and then I will come back. So, Honorable Samo Kujeto Ablakwa, Honorable Minister, will deal with the grounds separately. So, there will be a round of questions relating to ground 2 on the National Cathedral, and when members have taken, all members have taken their turn, we'll now come to ground 4, 5, and in that order.
That's strictly speaking the approach. If, no, wait a minute. Wait. Yes, okay. Yes, it's your turn. Yes. Good.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I will come to the National Cathedral in a minute. The Honorable Finance Minister has raised some issues with language which he appears uncomfortable with. I want to place on record that same day, on the 10th of November 1999, I have the Hansard here, of Wednesday, 10th November 1999. Then Dr. Kunedu Apreku, Nana Akufo-Addo, J.H. Mensah, and others filed a motion against your predecessor, Finance Minister Kwame Pepra. And if you look at column 977, they use similar words. Quote, the NDC government and Minister of Finance in particular had demonstrated absolute incompetence. They didn't say only incompetence. Absolute incompetence and gross negligence in ignoring sound and credible advice, unquote. If you come to column 983 of the same Hansard, they said, quote, anywhere else, such mismanagement is enough for people to stand back and say, we have done our part. We have come to the end of the road. We have gone full cycle. We took the reins of this country when we thought there was a crisis. We have come all the way and put it back in a crisis. This is the time to leave. And if the president cannot leave because of a constitutional mandate, we want the minister to begin the process of leaving now, and will continue in the year 2000, unquote.
Sorry, what is that point supposed to be clarifying?
The finance minister is raising issue with the language of the motion, and I want him to understand that it's consistent with the practice in this House.
How can it be consistent? I mean, so that was raised at the time.
This
so
is 1999.
1999. Nothing was wrong with that.
10th
so
November 1999.
Can say whatever there is.
And
the point.
The minister himself, on the 12th of March 2013, he is on record at the William Oforiatta Institute for Integrity lectures to have actually called for a coup. Nothing can be more stronger than that. So I don't think we'll be taking lectures on language from the minister.
What did he say exactly? Let's hear what he said, please.
He said, March 12, 2013, the country's silence on the election petition could trigger a coup, unquote. He was speaking at the William Oforiatta Institute for Integrity lectures. So it's available online. It was reported by Ghana Web. No. It's a preliminary. It's a preliminary comment on language. He appears to want to lecture us on language, and I thought that we should place these matters in proper perspective.
Somebody turn it off. No, he would do his point of order, but this is so fundamental a statement that I think until we're able to verify the fact that was actually spoken, we would not admit it in the evidence. So we'd want it expunged for the time being. If we're able to get the swear, can we have a look?
Mr. Chairman, this is not the time to be looking at information on phones. So if you can print it out to members.
No, you can't. Well, let's just bear with that. No, let's do it. There's something about Imani Ghana. What you shown me is about Imani Ghana, talking about, and then retired captain. Listen, I think we should expunge this from Mr. Co-Chairman. Let's expunge this. We can discuss this later, and let's get on. Well, I've read something. It doesn't correspond to what exactly you said.
Okay. So yes, we will examine it, subsequently, and determine whether or not it goes into our records.
For now, it's expunged. It's expunged from the record.
Hansard office maintain it until we have examined it.
Can we?
Yeah, I mean, these are matters of public record. So,
we'll come to you in a minute. We haven't come to you yet. The chair is confirmed. I still maintain that because of the nature of the statement, let's expunge it for the time being, and then if we get the printout and we verify we're happy with it, we would know what to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
Hansard office, take note.
Well, thank you very much.
I think the Honorable Yimedu was raising a point of order. What order are you coming
I'm
under?
only pleading with you, the co-chairs, that the whole Ghana is looking at us.
Yes.
And therefore, I entreat you that some comments should not be entertained at all. This statement that Honorable...
But are you revisiting the statement
to
the hearing of the whole world?
Well, it's been expunged, so let's go on.
Okay.
But I'm saying it for this to guide us, because you make a statement that a statement has been made in the Hansard. This statement was not made by the Honorable Minister. So how do you use it against him?
Very well.
Immediately,
the point is well noted,
right.
Honorable Ayimele.
Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable co-chairs, I will begin my substantive questions on the National Cathedral matter. I note from the Honorable Minister's response that he appears to set his own parameters and proceeds to answer them. He says at page 6, item number 12, Honorable co-chairs, 3 days ago, when the proponents were here, they alleged that I had made payments from the contingency fund to support the National Cathedral. I want to state that this is just not true. Let me be categorical. I have not taken no money from the contingency fund to make payments for the National Cathedral. He proceeds, paragraph 13. It appears the proponents have confused the contingency fund with the contingency vote. Let me explain. There is a difference between contingency fund and contingency vote. Co-chairs have been going through the verbatim report, the official transcripts of the proceedings of that day, because I didn't hear the proponent say this. And so when I went through the verbatim report at page 29 of 165, and honorable members can refer to the verbatim report, page 29. The Honorable Haruna Idrisu, he says, and I quote verbatim, I would like to start with the National Cathedral. Ghana is a much respected religious country where there is coexistence between both Muslims and Christians alike. Nobody is against the president promising and honoring God with the cathedral for the expression of the Christian faith. But when public resources are used for that purpose, it needs us to call into question. I just gave the clerk to the committee a warrant signed by the Honorable Minister for Finance for some amount for the cathedral, and that is what you are holding. I will tender it in evidence and say that we are aware that by warrant signed by Honorable Kenuforiata, Minister, 29th October 2022, and an expenditure of 142,762,500 Ghana cedis was allocated for the construction of the cathedral. We want to know when parliamentary approval was granted for this purpose. And then also, I refer to the Auditor General's report. I will just pick two and yield to Honorable Atuforsen, unquote. Nowhere in this verbatim report did the proponents say that money was taken from the contingency vote or contingency fund. Indeed, if you look at the grounds, Honorable Co-Chairs, it's very clear, and I'm surprised that the Honorable Finance Minister circumvents around a very clear grounds provided in this motion. It says, and I read, unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution, supposedly for the construction of the President's Cathedral, unquote. That is the ground. So I want to find out from the Honorable Minister where this matter of contingency fund and contingency vote is coming from, because we don't see that in the verbatim report.
Honorable Minister, did you listen to the question?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I surely did. That's what
Very well. So can you answer the question?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, the question here seems to suggest that there was unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund. So I went on to define the two different funds in which one might make a mistake, and made it very clear that A, we did not go through the contingency fund, and that we went through the contingency vote. So, I mean, I think that puts the issue of constitutional illegality.
Mr. Minister, 1 second. You say we are not all quite conversant with some of these economic terminologies. Maybe that is also conflicting the issues for even the committee member. So what are you saying? There is a distinction, and if there is, please clarify. There's a distinction between what is here, clearly written here, consolidated fund, and then the consolidated vote. Is that what you're saying? Contingency vote. 1 second, Sammy, 1 second, Sammy, 1 second. Is that what you are saying?
Yes, but I think, Co-Chair, what the Honorable MP is suggesting that there was no mention of contingency vote and or contingency fund, and so I have
No. In the question, let's look at it again. It says specifically there were withdrawals, 2 items here. There were actually 3 items. There were withdrawals, 1, 2, from the contingency fund. Forgive me. If you talk in unison, we're going to be all confused. Consolidated fund, 2. And then the third one is the constitutionality or otherwise of it. So you have the consolidated fund here, and then you have the unconstitutional element attached to it. You seem to be drawing a distinction between the consolidated fund and then a third one, a second one, which is what?
The contingency vote.
The contingency vote. So let's see if let's get it right. I'm happy for your technical people, because that's why they are around. If there's any issue that the technicals can help, we have no difficulty at all.
Mr. Co-Chair, I mean, it was important that we made that distinction, And essentially what Honorable is saying that it's unconstitutional to have withdrawn proceeds from the consolidated fund. And I was making it clear that whatever money comes from the consolidated fund goes into a number of items that could be anything. And in the consolidated vote, maybe resources that we go into consolidated contingency vote, where we go through, or contingency fund, which we did not use. And so that really is my line of discussion. If it was in his mind inaccurate, at least I have confirmed how we got those resources and used them.
Our colleague, Honorable Boama, I think has some clarification.
Honorable Minister, the question, the proponents on 3 are alleging that you made some unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund. You made those withdrawals. Simple.
No.
The Honorable Finance Minister has just said in response to Honorable Patrick Boama's follow-up question that he has not made any such withdrawals. Is that my understanding?
Mr. Blakwa, I said unconstitutional. Please, for the avoidance of doubt, please.
So, if it is constitutional, can the Honorable Finance Minister let us know when he received parliamentary approval for the said withdrawals? I have 2 withdrawal warrants here, 29th October 2020 and 31st March 2022. Do you have any parliamentary approval to proceed with these withdrawals in the 2020 budget and in the 2022 budget? In 2020, you withdrew 142.7 million. In 2022, you issued instructions to the Controller Accountant General to withdraw 25 million. I've gone through the 2020 budget, the appropriation. I've gone through the 2022 budget, the appropriation. There are no such approvals. So if you contend that they are not unconstitutional, can you help us with the basis for that contention?
Thank you very much. I get quite nervous about the level of passion on the construction of the cathedral. We certainly did receive parliamentary approval for whatever we do with our contingency vote. And that is what I went through to do that.
Can you please help us with evidence of that approval?
Of the approval of the budget?
How did you get the approval you refer to?
And the other government obligations.
I have looked at the...
And I believe I have the liberty.
Even if you come under, it is really shocking that such a major project will be treated as a contingency. It's shocking. All my 12 years in this house, I've never seen this.
Let's get something right. Yeah, you said that it is shocking. Wait. Sorry, colleagues, let's get this right. Is it, I think we are dealing with the constitutionality or otherwise of the issue. Your emotions don't come in. Whether it's shocking, it really doesn't come in. Is it constitutional or it's not constitutional? Let's deal with that, please.
Well,
it is
Honorable Co-Chair, if the expenditure was incurred without conforming with the constitutional procedures, such as getting parliamentary approval for the expenditure, all right, even under the Public Financial Management Act, that will be expenditure in excess of appropriation. And therefore, the finance minister would have even breached the statute. So the question of constitutionality is not here about the interpretation. It is about compliance with the constitutional procedures for the expenditure of public resources. And this committee and Parliament can delve into the constitutionality of actions taken by the finance minister with respect to the expenditure of public resources. And I think that is where the honorable member is coming from.
No, but
so
one second, where I put clear to the minister, we'll come to it. Where I put to the minister, minister did indicate the source of the money. Other government, is that what he said? Other government obligations. The point then was that, is that unconstitutional?
Let the order, not, yeah.
Well, Mr.
So that's asking my colleague,
yes,
the person who asked the question to
yes.
address his mind.
Honorable K.T. Hammond, yeah.
Sami, you can go on.
Honorable co-chairs, I hold in my hands the appropriation bills for the respective years. I also have the reports on Office of Government Machinery for the years in issue, 2020 and 2022. Nowhere in their reports to Parliament, when they accounted for expenditure in those years, did they report to the House? Can the Honorable Minister for Finance tell us why that happened? Because the practice is, even if you come under contingency, you must report to the Finance Committee as you seek approval for the ensuing year. Why was Parliament kept in the dark all these years?
Yes.
We are seeking leave for the honorable member to furnish us with the document that he is holding so that we can appropriately respond to the question. Because for me, the problem is with the use of the word in the motion unconstitutional withdrawals.
Very well.
Now, the only institution that can determine that any act pursuant to the Constitution is unconstitutional is the Supreme Court. Well, so if he used the word unlawful withdrawal, then the onus and the burden of persuasion is on him to show us how that withdrawal is unlawful. The minister has already explained that there was an appropriation, and then the payments were made out of the contingency vote as part of the appropriation for other government business
obligations.
I don't see how that is unconstitutional. And if the honorable member has a contrary procedure, which in his view is the lawful procedure, then he must show us.
Very well. What the honorable member is doing, he will furnish you with the document that he's holding. But that evidence, okay, if you say that it was under other government obligations, all right, it must be a line item in the budget as approved by Parliament. It must be, well, excuse me, very well, Council,
yes.
You know, I know you are my senior at the bar, but I beg you, I'm the chairman of, one of the chairmen of this committee, all right, so, and Council would listen to the committee and its members and not argue with us. Thank you very much. So, no.
By not arguing, you mean he can't make his point? Or
no,
what,
he can, no.
Calm down,
Honorable, with all due respect,
calm down.
If we were debating this motion in Parliament, the counsel to the Honorable Minister would not have had the opportunity to be at the bar of Parliament. Once we are here, and he has a right to counsel, all right, I expect that counsel can make his submissions, but not interrupt the chair when the chair is making a point. That is the point that I'm making.
Honorable Chair, the point is very well noted.
Thank you very much. We have to stamp the authority of Parliament. It's not about Dr. Ayine. It is about the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I'm happy to tender all the documents I'm referring to.
No, you are not tendering. You are a member of the committee. You furnish them with the documentary evidence that you have referred to.
Very well, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the guidance. So I will make them available through you to the clerks and to the witnesses. Yes, they can. The clerk can come for them.
Let's confirm with that. You need to have a look at them now to be able to answer, or what do you want to do? What's your...
Honorable Co-Chair, as a factual matter, we are of the considered opinion that there was no violation of any constitutional provision. There was also no violation of any subsidiary legislation. And we will educate ourselves with the facts as disclosed by the documentation in the possession of the honorable member, but it will not change our opinion.
So what is the exercise in giving you the documents if it wouldn't change anything? So the point I was making is that you want it now, you want the documents now, or...
Yes, we would like to see it, but he can go on with his questioning. Yes, but for the specific answer to the question that was put to the Honorable Minister, he has already explained. And at the risk of sounding repetitive, I would say that the payments were lawful because they were authorized by an appropriation. And subsequent to the appropriation, the payments were authorized out of the contingency vote on the specific allocation made for other government business. And the Honorable Minister and the other government obligations. And the Minister illustrated that point when he referred to payments made on behalf of the Black Stars in 2014, as well as the current Qatar delegation. It's a similar situation. We would be hard-pressed to answer that question.
That is well taken, Counsel. The fact that a violation might have occurred in 2014 doesn't mean that it cannot occur. It should not. That a finger should not be. No, please. That is an expression of their opinion, right? Very, very well. Honorable members, order. Please, the honorable ministers around the table, I know you are here to support your colleague, but I am pleading with you. Yes. Yes, you are heckling the members of the committee, and that's very unfair. That is very unfair. Please, can we have some order around the table and let the Honorable Okujata Blakwa ask his questions. Thank you, honorable members.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairman, for the protection. The Honorable Minister for Finance is still proceeding strongly, and the contingency vote provided for under the Office of Government Machinery. Other government obligations, yes. I have asked the Honorable Minister to let us understand respectfully why, after you have done that, you did not report to this House, as has been the practice, because other government obligations, the Finance Committee and the plenary will approve all of these matters after, and then the new budget for the ensuing year will also receive subsequent approval. How is it that until we intercepted these documents, Parliament didn't know at all that apparently public funds were going into this project, contrary to the initial promises anyway that the Ghanaian people had been told?
Honorable Co-Chairs, it's really not the practice for a line-by-line reporting, except under goods and services, capex, etc. If it is a new approach that you would like to suggest, I think we will consider it. I think my discomfort was the issue of constitutionality.
So, Mr. Chairman, can the Honorable Minister recall that on the 28th of November 2018, when we debated the 2019 budget, the minority cautioned that, and I quote, this was, I hope Dr. Ayeni doesn't mind me quoting verbatim from what he said at column 2893 of the 28 November 2018 budget. He said in the penultimate paragraph, quote, Mr. Speaker, I have reviewed the budget statement itself, and there is no statement whatsoever which relates to the National Cathedral. In other words, there has been no request for any estimate to be approved by this House for its construction. Mr. Speaker, a number of critical questions may be asked at this point in time because the Honorable Minister for Finance mentioned it in his speech, but it is not contained in the budget statement. I would want to ask 4 critical questions about this budget statement. Mr. Speaker, the first one is, what is the value of the land to be provided by the state? I'm aware 21 townhouses that were built to house our judges will be demolished for the purpose of the construction of the National Cathedral. Mr. Speaker, another critical question is, what is the cost of running the Secretariat for the entire duration of the construction of the National Cathedral? How much is the seed money to be provided by the state? And on and on. There were no answers. Does the Honorable Minister recall this debate? And is he able to tell us that the practice now for such important projects, national edifice, some estimates putting it at $400 million, that he's going to always hide it under contingency till it is completed?
Before the Honorable Minister answers, did you say that there were no responses to what you...
Yes, yes. There were no responses at all.
Hansard.
Yes, the Hansard of 28 November. So if he recalls this debate, because some people have argued that probably
but he wasn't in the House to have been able to respond. Is that the point?
Yeah, but the convention in this House is that the ministry must be represented during the debate.
It wasn't like a question put to him directly, but it was...
No, during the debate.
So he couldn't have been there and he couldn't have responded.
Yeah, but does he recall that we raised these concerns?
Let's put that on record, not that he avoided answering questions. Yeah.
We raised these concerns during the debate. So what we are doing now is not new. Does he recall? And the second part of my question is that, is it a new practice to classify such a major national project, $400 million, under contingency?
Thank you very much. Co-chairs, I think on Tuesday, we were very, very particular about the issues of particulars for this censure to make sure that we work within the remit. The question is one of constitutionality, which apparently we have been able to clear the air on. And now drawing us into a fishing expedition becomes a very difficult thing. I don't think we will be able to finish this. And if it's really a motion of censure of the finance minister, and it is these issues that are directing us to that, I think we need to be a bit careful. So we can certainly update Parliament at any time on these issues. But I think the people of Ghana should know very clearly that the issue of unconstitutional withdrawals did not occur, and we could have ensured that it didn't come. But in fact, I think Honorable Atto Forson, if you look in the Hansard, did mention something about contingency fund anyway. So I'm not sure the honourable member as to the issue of value of land, cost of the secretariat, how much seed money, is this a new practice? I'm sure we could have resolved these things outside of the ambit of constitutionality, which is what I've been brought here for. And that is a heavy, heavy charge.
Mr. Minister, I think I keep on assuring you that the question of, we're not here to interpret the Constitution, we're not here to enforce the Constitution. If anything, we are applying the dictates of the Constitution. I think the point is settled. As far as I'm concerned, it's settled. It may be throwing additional information, but for me, it is settled. The question was that some monies were taken for the purpose of the building of the cathedral. Unless, of course, there's a categorical denial that any monies were taken, then it's an entirely different matter altogether. But if it's admitted that some monies were taken, I think your point is that you took it out of a certain grant, a certain vote. I think you call it other government obligation. That's where you took the money from. You said that that came to Parliament for our consideration and approval. Well, wait a minute. No, I'm not debating you.
Yes,
I'm trying to make a point yes. I mean, that is the point that you have made. He says that, as far as he recalls, there was some discussion in Parliament along these same lines. You went there, so you won't be able to answer that question. We debated this and raised exactly the questions that he's raising about how much was involved, whatever the money is. Your point, as far as I'm concerned, it's what you made already, and that's what your lawyer said. So the constitutionality argument, it shouldn't trouble us at all. There are modalities. One second. This is the Constitution. To take money out of the government, whatever, Constitution provides for how it is done. That, I think, is the constitutionality he's talking about. Yeah. The government, other obligations and whatever, they fall under the same law. And your point is made clear that this is how I took the money. So constitutional arguments don't come in here. My colleague Mesa wants to make a contribution.
Mr. Chairman, indeed, I'm surprised at the...
I keep talking about feelings of people getting surprised and getting...
Because I'm very well. I'm making reference specifically to page 134 of 165. And then also page 135 of 165, where the Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa posed the question. And if you permit me, I'll read. He says, Mr. Ablakwa, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. On the National Cathedral, Dr. Atto Forson indicated that Article 178 has been breached because there was no authorization by Parliament. I have heard some government communicators say that perhaps the Honorable Minister of Finance can come under contingency and do what he has done. Is that a view you share? Does the contingency fund under our constitutional arrangement allow an Honorable Minister for Finance to do what has happened in this case? And this is a response that Dr. Forson gave. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm not aware that a contingency fund in particular can be used for such a project. The Constitution is clear on how the contingency fund can be used. For the Honorable Minister responsible for Finance to be able to use the contingency fund, he would need a committee of Parliament. You would recall that during the COVID-19 era, the Honorable Minister for Finance appeared before Parliament and got approval under the Constitution requirement on contingency fund. So clearly, the transcript from the first day of hearing suggested that some contingency fund process had been employed. And that is why the minister...
No, not at all. Honorable Minister, you are out of order. You are grossly out of order.
Why am I out of order?
You are out of order. You are out of order. You are completely out of order. The portion that you have read, all right, was a reference to what government communicators have said about the use of the contingency fund. And to be clear, the contingency fund is a specific creature of the Constitution, and there are constitutional procedures. And in fact, the Honorable Minister himself has appeared before the Finance Committee when I was present, where he asked for approval under Article 178 of the Constitution. There are unforeseen expenditures that have to be made, for which provision has not been made in the appropriations bill of the prior year. So please, you are completely out of order.
Respect.
Please.
Chairman,
can we?
Respect.
No, please. Honorable Mesa.
Respectfully.
You will take your turn to ask questions.
If you permit me.
Can you clarify? No, please. I think there is a determined effort to put hurdles in the way of the Honorable Okudzeto, and I don't think that is fair.
Unfortunate assertion, Chairman.
With
respect,
Mr. Co-Chairman, excuse me, Sammy, you are a member of the senior and prominent member of the committee. Everything will be done to make sure that you have your say. Don't worry about it. But don't worry. These are legal arguments. So when we settle these arguments, you would have a free flow. But if you said that there's a deliberate attempt to put impediment, what word did you use? That is the same as deliberate, isn't it? To put impediments, you are not being fair to the committee. Sammy, go on, make your point. The minister would answer to the extent that he can. The committee, in the end, would make our determination.
Chair, the minister's categorical statement is contained at paragraph 12. Nothing that has been read so far confirms what the minister said at paragraph 12. The proponents did not allege that payments had been made from the contingency fund, as he says in paragraph 12.
So we've settled that one. Move on with your next question.
And then, Chair, I would also need... I would need your direction, Honorable Co-Chairs, Honorable Katie Hammond and Honorable Dr. Yeni. My understanding of what we are doing is that the pursuit of Article 82.4, which is a referral from the Right Honorable Speaker, we are to make a determination, fact-finding of a sort, and we will submit our report to the House for debate, for a decision to be made. But consistently, I keep hearing the Honorable Witness saying that, oh, this matter has been established. This matter has been settled. Is it for him to determine for us if it was the constitutionality or unconstitutionality has been determined? I need your guidance.
I mean, we'll rule on all of that. I mean, we're going to be able to shut his mouth. The minister is entitled to some sort of statements. So in the end, we are here to determine for ourselves what exactly it is. I mean, he's talked about the constitutionality, because consistently I'm saying that we are not here to determine the constitutional matter. We are here to apply the words of the Constitution. So to the extent that he makes his statement, we would then juxtapose this against the Constitution and see whether we are able to apply the details of it. Hey, don't pick and choose every little.
No, Chair, it's important.
We really need to make some progress, colleagues. The shouting match across the table and all that not entirely helpful. Let's calm down. Let's.
So, Chair, I can proceed, and
you can. But
I will assure
a lot of time.
I will assure the Honourable Minister that I'm not on a fishing expedition at all, even though the Volta River goes through my
comment itself is overruled.
So, the Honourable Minister says that some seed money, government contribution. Can the Honourable Minister let us know the value of that seed money, the quantum? What is that seed money?
Most respectfully, Honorable Co-Chair, we are here pursuant to the motion that is on the floor, and the context in which the Speaker referred the matter to this committee is clearly stated on the face of the motion itself. And as far as I'm concerned, the question just put is veering out of the context of the motion. And
in what respect, Mr. Akwa-Sampson?
Honorable Chair, the remit of the inquiry that we are doing here is to establish whether there is a factual basis for a censure based on the provisions, presumably in this instance, the Constitution,
so
and
the
also,
Constitution and the standing orders.
Yes, and also the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Yes.
All right, the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the facts that we are gathering must be the facts that relate to the context in which the censure can be evoked. Yes. And as far as I'm concerned, the last question that the honorable member asked does not in any way advance that process at all, because it's outside the remit of the scope of the motion that is on the floor of Parliament.
So, yes, I can understand. But we're going to make a ruling and move away from this question in a minute. Yeah, we would. But I understand the point that Sami was making. Sami is saying that, well, Minister, admittedly, some monies have been taken. He's got some warrant for whatever. He's got quite a bit of it here. Something has been taken. I think he wanted some clarification from him. He doesn't probably trust the evidence he has. So he's asking him, confirm, how much have you taken? Minister doesn't remember how much he's taken. He doesn't remember. We can move on. I mean, it shows, you have the warrant. And the fact is made that monies have been taken. Let's make some progress, please.
Honorable Agyapong, you had your hand up first. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, mine is a response to the issue being raised by Counsel for the Finance Minister. The Counsel for Finance Minister brought a response, and in the response, he is stating categorically that some payments were made towards the Cathedral. So if a member of the committee wants to know how much payment was made, I do not think he's derogating.
Colleague, that's the matter that we moved away from. Yes, he wanted to say something.
Chairman, I think we are wasting too much time on this. The Constitution makes an exception for withdrawals from the Consolidated Fund under Article 1781B Roman 1, with your permission. And the Minister has clearly stated that the monies that he took for the purposes of the Cathedral was based on the appropriation that Parliament approved. And it says no monies shall be withdrawn from the consolidated fund except B1 by an appropriation act. And he's clearly laid the foundation that he got it from the other government obligations line. Period. I think it's clear.
With that,
it's clear.
So, I mean, your next point, you won't ask any more questions on this one. So,
unless he can establish a contrary fact, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. So, I mean, move on. Well, no, yeah, but he has to finish all his
Mr.
questions.
Chairman,
Yeah.
when you go through the proponents.
Wait a minute, this is still on which
Yes,
one?
National Cathedral. I'm still on the National Cathedral.
But not on the money.
No, I would. Yes, I trust my intercepted document, so no problem.
I'm sure the national security apparatus is here, who are intercepting documents.
I will grant the lawyers that if they don't want the minister to respond, that's okay. But going through the verbatim report, the proponents also indicate that there were other withdrawals, which they contend are unconstitutional withdrawals for payment of architect, for relocation of judges, for compensation of demolished properties. What does the Minister of Finance have to say about that?
I mean, are we not revisiting the same point? Wait a minute. The point is that he's taking some money. Yeah, he's taking money from wherever it was taken from, for all the allied matters related to the cathedral. So what is it better? What? Agree to what? Put the question. Does he agree to which one?
Can he confirm they were those withdrawals?
Have you not shown us this document?
This one I'm asking about compensation,
Compensation. The architect
No,
it's not about the cathedral.
Counsel, we just want your client to confirm if these withdrawals took place. That is a yes or no answer or an explanation. So that is there.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Co-Chair, sorry, my apologies. We do appreciate this, but we seem to think that this question is related to the overall questions that was posed in relation to the cathedral project. So it appears that we are revisiting the same questions in various forms, and that is our concern. We seem to think that the Honorable Minister has answered.
Counsel, with all due respect, I think welcome to the world of Parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Co-Chair.
You probably are thinking that you are before the Supreme Court justices. No, this is not a judicial setting.
Not at all.
Yes, so in Parliament we ask follow-up questions. So allow the honourable member to ask his question. Your client is entitled to, answer yes or no, and then we can proceed.
Very well.
Is anybody, we're waiting for answer, or we should go on?
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry, say it again.
Not here.
Honourable Minister, are you ready to answer?
Sure, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. I am, I thought the primary issue was the legality of where we took the resources from. And I think we've explained it. And so now it gets to the question of the specificity of these things. And Mr. Chairman, I do not have that here.
Very well. Honorable Blakwa, do you have any further questions? And then we can move on to other members of the committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will rest for now and cede to other members.
Very well. Honorable Patrick Boama. No, I am offering you the opportunity. Okay. Honorable Agyapong Mensah.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Finance Minister, the issue about...
This is friendly fire that is coming, so don't be worried.
I suppose that, yes, it will be friendly fire because I don't believe that people should be hanged for acts that they necessarily have not committed. And so it's important that it's friendly fire. So, Finance Minister, the issue about contingency vote, contingency fund, is it the usual course of government operations to expend, as you indicated in your response, referencing specifically the funding for the World Cup 2014 and also the World Cup 2022, for matters that are not specifically provided for in the budget to be funded from that vote? Is it the usual course of government operations to do that?
Mr. Co-Chair, it is, there's precedence and it is a practice. And I guess the issue of the creation of that line item or pocket of resources is because we live in a world of uncertainties in which there will be emergencies. And that allows for nimbleness or response, you know, when it's needed. So that's where the contingency vote comes into play.
Obviously, this is not an activity of government that started when you became.
No, sir. I think we have the famous issue of Brazil that is very graphic to all of us.
That will be all for now.
Very well, Honorable Ahiefo. Do you have? Oh, sorry, Honorable Zenato. Before Honorable Ahiefo, Zaneto.
Thank you, Honorable Co-Chair. Just for clarity, would the Minister kindly inform the committee on how much the government of Ghana has spent to date on the National Cathedral?
That matter is settled. That matter is settled. That is the point. Wait a minute. That is the... Wait a minute, please. We are here for a purpose. We're not going to be repetitive. We're not going to repeat that. The matter that we got bogged in with Sami was the question of how much. Has this been paid here? Has this been paid here? He said, I think we were here, we heard him clearly, that, well, he might not be able to recall exactly how much has been paid in total up to date. He made that one clear. And your question again is that, well, can you tell us how much has been paid?
In all fairness, Co-Chair, in this age of electronic communication and, you know, the easy availability of information from the Honorable Minister's ministry, that, I mean, the sum total of the expenditure to date can be put together easily. I'm sure Eva, you know, can do that, retrieve that easily from her phone. You know, so please, it's a fair question.
For the purpose of this,
Well, I mean, for purposes of getting, you know, I mean, the minister to answer the question. Honorable Minister, we are waiting for the figure.
Honorable Co-Chair.
Yes.
On behalf of the Minister, you would recall that on the first date...
Honorable, sorry, Counsel.
Yes.
Are you raising a legal technical point?
I am raising a point which, in my considered opinion,
right,
will offer appropriate information.
No, you cannot testify before this committee.
I'm not testifying.
If you want to testify on behalf of your minister, your client, then I'll let there is in the clerk swear you in.
I don't have a problem with that.
Or you want to be sworn in?
I don't want to be sworn in. If I were to be sworn in, I will be a witness of truth.
A witness of fact. We don't know about the truth or otherwise of your testimony.
Yes, but that evidence will not even be coming from proper custody because I don't work at the Ministry of
Very
Finance.
well.
Yes.
So,
but at any rate, what I'm just trying to lay the context in which the minister is probably having a difficulty offering figures now, because at the beginning we opined that we needed particulars of the charge or the grounds that he was supposed to answer. If these had come in, it's just a matter of adding figures at the ministry and coming here to deliver the information. And I will go back to the motion on the floor of Parliament. It is not the duty of the minister to offer information that will, excuse me to say, promote his censure. You know, the promoters of the censure motion, they should have collated all this information before they came here.
Counsel, so it's a very simple matter of the minister saying that I do not have the figures.
Exactly.
This committee will not reject that answer as inappropriate. Yes. I don't know why.
I think he has
said so that. Yeah, if he says he doesn't have the figures, no one is going to compel him to produce them. Yes, Honorable. No, is that on a point of order?
Yes, Chairman, with due respect to Council, this matter crop up regarding furnishing the minister with particulars. This committee has taken a decision that after the evidence of the proponents, there will be a transcript furnish the finance minister, and that has been done. And some figures has been alluded to in the transcript. So I do not sit down here and have the feeling that regarding the transcript, there is any element of surprise to the minister. So if the minister, upon receipt of the transcript, is still maintaining that he is not aware of the figure, we'll take that as an answer.
So let us point him to the page where that particular figure is, and then let him comment on it. My friend.
No, it's okay. The minister is entitled to answer his question, and then.
Yes.
Honorable Co-Chair, am I to take it that I will not be given a response to my question? Because as a House of Records, I could mention a figure that I have. Will the ministry be in a position to corroborate this by providing us with documents afterwards?
I think it's a better approach. You got a document like Sami had something. You know, you want to flash it at him and you want to seek clarification of that. We have no difficulty with that. But to ask
based on the total number I have so far, the amount that the government of Ghana has spent so far on the cathedral is $199 million. US dollars. I beg your pardon. US cedis. I beg your pardon.
Ghana cedis.
No, the amount of money spent by the government of Ghana to date is 199 million cedis. I corrected myself. May I? Is that correct? And will the ministry be in a position to furnish the committee with the figures to either corroborate or otherwise the amount of money Government of Ghana has spent on the National Cathedral to date?
Mr. Co-Chair, we will be able to in due course.
Very well.
Thank you. Co-Chair, the Minister mentioned in his response on page 7 that the money was taken from what he referred to as a contingency vote. And my question is whether all the approved amounts have found expression in the budget subsequent to that, because usually this is an emergency or an ad hoc, but appears to be an ongoing expense. Has this found expression anywhere? Has this found expression anywhere in the budget, in subsequent budgets that the minister has presented to the House?
Could you please clarify that question a bit?
Honorable Senator, the Honorable Minister is asking that you clarify.
What I'm referring to is the minister mentioned that the money that was spent on the cathedral came from a contingency vote, which is part of the contingency fund, Office of Government Machinery. Has this other government obligations, I beg your pardon, has this subsequently found expression in budgets that he has presented to the House subsequent to this?
Honorable Minister.
Madam Co-Chairs, thank you very much. It hasn't found the expression that
Yes.
the Honorable MP is seeking. But I think when we look at the Auditor General's opinion, Attorney General's opinion, I'm sorry, we should, in the years, as we stabilize how the funding will come, it should be able to come through that entity. So yes, no expression has been found as we speak. But given the opinion, I would imagine that's where it would happen.
Yes. I was given a new document. Okay, very well. Given that you clearly stated, Co-Chair, given that the Minister clearly stated that the information on the cathedral on page 9, I beg your pardon, in the new document on page 8 of the Minister's response, 18I, where he refers to the announcement of the establishment of the Board of Trustees and the Secretariat for the Castle, I beg your pardon, Cathedral, II, the approval of the groundbreaking ceremony, III, and then also the letter of intent signed, and then in IV, the announcement of the expansion of the cathedral project to include a Bible museum. For me, the question I have is, given that all of these are so clearly stated, can the minister provide information or a bit of clarity to the committee why the amounts that were spent on the cathedral were not outlined as clearly as all the intentions and ceremonies that went along with the committee, with the cathedral, I beg your pardon?
Once the minister is at it, Zami, you don't have to put it on record, but tell me, I thought you were Catholic or Methodist or Christian, or you are not a Muslim, that I know, you are not.
Neither am I anti-cathedral, but you know
No,
that you know that in the Bible, in First Chronicles,
Mr. Boke,
in First Chronicles, the Lord stopped David from constructing a cathedral for him because he had shed blood. So when it comes to the house of God, God wants us to proceed in holiness, in purity, in cleanliness,
so, but
to edify
you haven't
and to glorify Him.
You haven't answered.
So,
are you Methodist?
no, I know where you are headed to.
You think
I'm not
you
atheist. I'm not a pagan. This strategy.
Honorable Ablakwa, I think you've made your point. He's, in fact,
the chairman
partially out of order.
We really have to. So what's going on there? What?
Mr. Co-Chair, I did mention the Attorney General's opinion, which now is going to reside all of this with the Museums and Monument Board, and will therefore, in the ensuing representations to Parliament, hope be a lot more specific as to how the financing would be done.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Please proceed.
Are you done with your questions on the cathedral, so we can make some progress?
No, not yet, but I thought we were making progress by going through each item.
Yeah, very well. So please proceed with you.
On the cathedral.
Yes.
You're not done with the cathedral?
No.
She's only starting.
Yes. I've actually only asked, I think, 2 questions, but each question has taken a while. So, yes. My third question, if my numbering is correct, is to do with the consulting, the architectural consulting firm that has been taken on board with regards to the building of the cathedral, the design and all of that, the construction. Is the ministry in a position to tell us how much is being given to the consulting firm and the architect? Specifically, Messrs. Sir David Ajay and Associates.
Yeah, good question.
Or should I?
Yeah, please do.
Mr. Co-Chair, I think this may be the third question with regards to the specificity of numbers, and I think I've answered that question. That if need be, that could be provided.
Sorry, I didn't hear the. Be provided. Very well. Okay. Sorry. Okay, you go. Yes. And if I may ask a question, co-chairs, just seeking your direction and asking a question to the minister on the questions we're asking and a question in hindsight. Would you permit? My question would be to the minister whether in hindsight he would have presented the expected expenditure related to the cathedral to Parliament in a more transparent, I suppose, way to avoid.
I got it down. Hindsight is 2020, so maybe
I know.
we'll
hence
move
my
on.
question.
We'll move on. We won't deal with hindsight. So let's.
So you won't give the minister an opportunity
your
to.
Your current question. What's your current question? Don't deal with the hindsight.
I think the minister has even answered that question if you were listening. He referred to the Attorney General's opinion and said on the advice of the Attorney General, they will do things differently. So we are looking forward to how differently the minister will do things. So are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Very well. Honorable Boama, no questions for the minister. Honorable Ben Adahiefo, you have any questions?
Yes.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
Co-Chair.
Since our side just stopped, Kwame, do you want? No. In fairness, that's the procedure. So in fairness, that's how we've been proceeding. So I don't want Kwame to think that I'm, being unfair to him. But if you want to yield to him, that should be fine. Okay. Very well. Very well. I mean, I'm yielding the opportunity to ask your questions now. That's what I meant. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to just ask a brief question, the Finance Minister, on the issue under reference. Honorable Finance Minister, you tendered Attorney General's opinion in evidence in support of your evidence. Opinion of the Attorney General available at the time you were making the first payment to the National Cathedral?
Yeah. Mr. Co-Chair, opinion was in 25th March 2022.
So when was the first payment made?
I'm sure it was way before that time. As you know, we cut short somewhere 5th March 2020 or so.
Now, if you take a look at the opinion of the Attorney General, it never advised you on payment, but rather the legal status of the cathedral. Sure. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the legal status, that's correct.
But never on payment?
Not that I read any here, but once you have a legal status, it informs the direction in which you will take.
Which I disagree. Chairman, thank you very much.
Very well. Honorable Kwame Imedu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have only one question. Minister, it is true
Go ahead and ask your question.
It is true, is it not, that government funding had not been the only source of funding for the National Cathedral, if you know? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Co-Chair, Honorable MP. That is very true. That there's been a whole series of fundraising by the Cathedral Secretariat, including the Ketua Bianswa and various activities which have been had to fundraise both locally and also in the US and UK by the Secretariat.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, honorable member wants to ask a question. If not, I want a clarification from the minister with respect to the technical term contingency vote. Would you normally use a contingency vote for foreseen, planned expenditure?
Mr. Co-Chair, the issues we deal with in finance are numerous and complicated. There may be a foreseen expenditure, but there may be an emergency payment that is required. So, I mean, I'm not sure that I can be very helpful with that.
You announced the construction of the National Cathedral in the budget of 2017, is that correct? Or 2019, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. That's correct.
So clearly, it is something that your ministry anticipated would be the subject matter of some government expenditure.
Possibly, Mr. Co-Chair, there was also vigorous efforts on the part of the Secretariat to fundraise.
That is not. I do understand, and if I have the opportunity, I'll give you a check for that. But can we concentrate on the public resources that you are deploying for the construction of the cathedral and the approval processes? So,
what is the question then?
Yes. So the question is, at the time that you announced the construction of the cathedral, you clearly anticipated the deployment resources towards its construction, didn't you?
We did indicate the issue of government support with regards to the land, the Secretariat, and seed money. We did.
And in subsequent budgets, you came under other government obligations in order to utilize public resources for the construction, right?
That's correct.
Would you describe such as a contingency vote?
Would I describe?
Yes, because if we accept your position that the resources were allocated under other government obligations, right? So let's take, for the sake of, they were allocated under other government obligations and approved.
They were taken from other government obligations. That's very different from.
Well, there was a vote of an envelope of resources approved by Parliament. So the animal called other government obligations was approved by Parliament.
Sure.
And there was an envelope of resources, available under other government obligations, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
that's it.
Right. So my question is, would you still describe that as a contingency vote? Since you planned ahead, the envelope of resources was predetermined, wasn't it? It was predetermined, Eva Mens, it was predetermined because that line item certainly had a figure that Parliament approved.
Sure.
No. Are you saying, no, please, Kwame, you had your turn. Are you challenging the chair?
No, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. When the chairman is making a point, I think it's fair for us to listen to him. When there's a difficulty, we would try and. No. Wait a minute. One chairman is making the point. Co-chairman is making. Yeah, sure. So let me finish. When he. We're not on this committee. Go on. Ask your question. Can we have some silence, please? Yes.
Honorable Dambocho, you want to answer the question?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
no.
Co-Chairman,
All right.
Mr. Co-Chairman, I think we'll come back. No, Samuel, you won't be
no.
asking any more questions on Cathedral.
No,
you ask other questions in relation to other
Yeah.
matters. But you are done with your questions, aren't you?
Yes, I'm waiting for the answer. Whether there was a figure. Other government obligations.
Yes. There will be figures for that.
Very well. Thank you.
Yes, Cathedral matters over. No.
We are 2 o'clock. Usually we break at 2.
All right. So we dealt with the first segment of it, which is Cathedral, concluded with that. I think it's been suggested that Minister might want to take a break. Not so much about us, but the Minister himself. We are open. You want us to do 3 o'clock before we have break, or you want us to...
I think we should take a 1 hour break.
Sorry, Mr. Wokwe, what are you saying? Council... No, in terms of break, Council has no say.
No, let's break.
Okay, different matters.
Honorable co-chairs, I think we'd prefer to do an hour more before we do take a break if necessary. Prefer to do an hour more before we take a break if necessary.
Some of us can sit in to 6 o'clock without...
no problem.
So
Will the minister provide lunch?
we should be providing him with lunch. He's visited us. All right.
That's a joke. That's a joke, please.
So we'll start the next round. Next question. The question is in respect of which one? The next one is it the fiscal recklessness? Which one? On your list. Well, we've done the first one, which is the Cathedral, isn't it? Okay. So we do the
deliberate and dishonest misreporting.
Is that
or
it?
let's say misreporting of data to Parliament.
Yes, colleagues, that's the one.
Yes.
All right.
Chairman, we just cannot say, let's say, misreported. There was a categorical allegation against the minister. You said deliberate and dishonest. Yeah. So
that's
we
fine.
Just cannot say,
that's fine. That's what's on the paper.
Say,
Minister,
please.
The next one is that we're going to try the question and see if any of our colleagues. Yes, who want to? If we don't have questions, we'll move on.
No, let's start with Honorable Agyapong.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for giving me the opportunity to start on this subject matter. That's deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. Mr. Chairman, my question will come from the transcript. There was an issue that in 2018, you have reported a fiscal deficit of 3.8% to GDP, and deliberately and dishonestly, you excluded an expenditure of 9.8 billion. And if that 9.8 billion is included in the deficit accounting, the total deficit would have been 7.1. What do you say to this?
So what are you looking at? Which page? I take it that you are reading from the...
Yes.
Which page is this?
No, I just frame it from...
Yeah, but where is the summary of it? Is it at... Oh, you don't remember exactly which page?
Yes, I don't remember the page, but you can check from page...
Well, I'm looking at 37, 35, 36, 37. So if that's what you're talking about.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, let's start from 36, misreporting.
Mr. Chairman, page 37.
The question of misreporting in our transcript starts from page 36. Runs to 37, 38, and I think to 39. So if you have the transcript, you can have a look at those pages. But you don't need to rely on the transcript. The question, I think, as posed, it's clear. Can you repeat the question for the, yeah.
Honorable Minister, the question is that in the year 2018, the Finance Minister reported to Parliament a fiscal deficit of 3.8% to gross domestic product, and deliberately and dishonestly excluded a key expenditure item in the sum of 9.8 billion. And if this key expenditure item is included in the fiscal deficit accounting, the actual fiscal deficit would have been 7.1. Yes.
Mr. Co-Chair, I think we have gone through these issues of the reporting over and over, and we did actually put out a memo to explain what we were doing. So it is not dishonest, deliberate misreporting, and that we always, if you look at some of our budgets and our appendices, you clearly see the line which indicated what was above the line and also what was below the line, which typically, at least since we came into government, have involved the issue of energy expenses and the FinSec banking cleanup that we did. Now, the question of treatment is what we are talking about. And the treatment that we're using was not illegal. Did the number get exhibited? Of course it did. But if that's our treatment, that is our treatment. And the treatment was not illegal.
So should I take it that the key expenditure of 9.8 billion was treated below the line?
Mr. Co-Chair, the expenditures on energy and FinSec were huge. There is no question that if the previous government had taken care of the AQR, we would not have been in that situation. Whatever it was an extraordinary expenditure. It was one time, and that is how we elected to treat it. And that was not illegal. If you look at the IMF documentations, even they would have, you know, the number you talked about, which we accepted as what the deficit is, and then they would also say what the number was if you were to add those two numbers. So the issue of dishonesty, we want to dispel that. Deliberate misreporting, thinking that you will not see the number in our documents, you will see the number in our documents. Our choice as to what is over the line or under the line, that's for us to do. And we thought that was appropriate at that time until a year ago when we said that we've mostly paid off the FinSec expenditure, and therefore we can bring it up. We also made a decision on the energy expenses and also brought it above the line.
Will I be right in my mind that if the key expenditure of 9.8 is included in the deficit accounting, then the deficit for the year 2018 would have been 7.1 instead of 3.8?
I think you are talking about accounting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And accounting has various treatments.
Very well.
And those are not illegitimate.
Okay.
And not only did we accept or agree as to the method of accounting, we also stated it in our documents. And unfortunately, the Secretariat is not able to show what we have here. But if you were to look, we're not able to project that. So yes, so it's not dishonest because it's on the page, it's recorded. Is it deliberate? Is it treatment? Is it a choice of treatment? Have we changed the way we do it? Yes, we have changed the way we do it now. You know, is it common for accounting principles to change? They do change.
Honorable Minister, similarly, in the year 2019, you reported 4.8% deficit. And again, you have excluded the financial sector cleanup payment of about 3.1 billion and energy sector payment of about 5.1 billion. And will it be the case that if the financial sector cleanup and then the energy sector payment is included, the deficit would have been 7.1 instead of 4.8?
Co-Chair, I'm not sure where we are going with this discussion, since I have been very, very clear about the method of treatment. And I've also been very clear that even when you look at the IMF data, they'll give you those two numbers. Deliberate, dishonest, misreporting. There was no misreporting. The numbers are clear for everybody to see. And I'm explaining to you why we did what we did.
Honorable Minister, will I be wrong to say that your choice to report above or below the line was informed by the various provisions in the Fiscal Responsibility Act?
I'm not sure. I mean, I was the one who brought the Fiscal Responsibility Act. How were we treating it prior to the Fiscal Responsibility Act? And the fact of the matter that the Fiscal Responsibility Act came into force, you know, in 2020, actually. So deliberate and dishonest, while the numbers are clear for everyone to see, I fail to understand.
In the year 2020, you came for a suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Is that correct?
That's very true.
And even that year, you reported a fiscal deficit of 11.7. Is that correct?
That's true.
And again, the actual deficit was supposed to be 17.2.
Co-chairs, I don't think we have made much progress, unless there's a lack of appreciation of the fact.
Honorable Minister, I, with all due respect, I think, you know, the member wants you to confirm certain facts to the committee. So please just go ahead and confirm those, and then we'll make a lot of progress. Thank you.
No, not necessary to confirm. It's putting those things to you. If you disagree, you disagree. Because I think it's going through the... Wait a minute. To what was stated by Atto in this proponent. So he's putting them to you. You agree, you agree, you don't agree, you don't agree. Nobody's hanging the issues around your neck.
So I have made it very clear that the issues of the FinSec and the issues of energy were treated below the line. And I've also made it clear that that is what we at the Ministry of Finance agreed to do as an institutional way of dealing with this. I've also made it clear that since 2021, 22, we have agreed that we bring it above the line because it's no more an extraordinary measure. And so there will be differences. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, there's the with or without, and those numbers were in our books. They were not hidden, and therefore they were not dishonest.
Finance Minister, I'm now coming to the year 2021. The deficit reported was 9.2% of GDP, but the actual deficit that should have been reported should have been 12.4% of GDP. What do you say to this?
Honorable Co-Chair, Honorable MP, I think it's the same line of questioning that we have gone through from year to year, and I insist that we had a certain way of treating, we're consistent with, in terms of making it clear with or without was also in the books, so nothing was hidden.
What is the limit in terms of percentage points of the fiscal deficit per the Fiscal Responsibility Act?
It is 5%, and if you go beyond another 1%, then a vote of censure could be.
So it's been argued before this committee that because of Section 2 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, you are deliberately and dishonestly misreporting below the line so that you could operate within the ambit of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, when in real situation you are operating contrary to the law, for which reason there should be a vote of censure.
So,
wait a minute. That's in relation to which years? Because I thought we heard him say that in terms of the current years, he's actually given clear instructions on what is to be done. So this is in relation to which years?
Mr. Co-Chair, I started from 2018. In 2018, if you look at the transcripts,
2018.
Yes, if you look at the transcripts, so the proponents are with a view.
Wait a minute. If we were also listening, in terms of 2018, we have ruled here that the law was not even applicable.
Chairman, Co-Chair, probably that would have been your interpretation, which is different and distinct from the view. Let me finish the point.
When you say
if you look at your own transcript.
Wait a minute. Calm down, you will talk. Don't worry, don't panic. The act is here. The act is here. This is not interpretation. I keep saying that it's an application of it. We all understand it. The matters occurred before the 28th of December 2018. The law came into force on the 28th of December 2018, and you're talking about 2018 matters prior to that. So no. He said, you heard him. He said that in terms of 2018, and I retorted by saying that in terms of that would already have ruled on that, not applicable. So he can make progress by moving on to 2019.
Mr. Co-Chair.
Yes.
In fact, if you listen to the proponent, they are of the view that as at 31st December, the law was in being. That is their argument, and it is for the committee to make that particular determination.
You are a member of the committee. We are telling you that statement made.
But that is what you are saying. I may take a contrary view.
Well,
that my contrary view should inform the question that I should ask.
You seem to be a member of the. You seem to be a member of the committee.
No. Honorable Co-Chair, I believe strongly as a committee, we have not taken that particular decision that the Fiscal Responsibility Act is not applicable as at 31st December 2018. We have not.
Have you had opportunity to peruse a copy of the? Have you had a copy of the?
So we'll come to that particular determination. If that determination is made, that is fine. And I also mentioned, as a lawyer, I know that once the law has been assented to, it takes effect effective from the date of the assent. So therefore, what the committee must look at is that this particular law, when was it assented to? Is it before or after? Now somebody is talking about 28, somebody is talking about 31st. That is why I am of the view that
Pass
these
it on
are
to him.
issues.
That's the law. The law
Yes.
is here. Yeah, let him have it.
Yes.
Let him have it.
Yes, yes. And somebody is talking about us at 31st December 2018 and move further to establish
Bernard,
2019.
Honorable, I'm here for
Yes.
you made a point
Yes.
about 2019 and
Yes,
subsequently.
2019.
Can you rephrase your question in respect of that and then let the Honorable
So
Minister answer?
the proponents are of the view that deliberately and dishonestly, the finance minister is misreporting just to circumvent the law per Section 2 and Section 4 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
I deny that categorically.
Very well, yeah. Bernard, do you have any other questions? Very well, yes. Any other member on misreporting? Oh, yes, Honorable Mesa.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick glance of the dictionary meaning of misreport. It says to give a false or inaccurate account of. As Finance Minister, is it the case that you have given a false or inaccurate account of any financial statements to Parliament as is being alleged?
Coaches, Honorable, no.
Finance Minister, I read from your written response that these deficit figures, both with and without, were actually reported in the financial statements that you reported to Parliament, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And that is the same reporting that you report growth with and without oil, correct?
That's correct.
Now, your reporting on growth, if you are accused of misreporting when you quote your growth figures without oil, would that be accurate?
That would be completely inaccurate, sir.
And if you report your growth figures with oil, would that be misreporting?
I will not be misreporting.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Very well. Any other member? Yes, Honorable Blakwa, and then we'll take Kwame. Honorable Yimedu, and then Honorable Zanato.
Thank you very much, Honorable Co-Chair. I want to find out from the Honorable Minister why he consistently pursued the path he pursued until April 2020. And this is after we had raised concern about his style of reporting. He was quite consistent about pursuing on that same path until April 2020, when he had to put in an application to the IMF, a copy of which I have here, request for disbursement under the Rapid Credit Facility for $1 billion. How does he explain the two different scenarios? In Ghana, consistently, even though the minority had raised it, he wouldn't budge, he would not depart. But suddenly, when he had to apply for $1 billion from the IMF, he changed the methodology from the IMF documents I have here. How does he explain the sudden change in his philosophy and his methodology?
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. I think we come back to the issue of whether these two numbers, with or without, have always been available to all. And if you look at the 2022 IMF Article 4 report, you can see very clearly the with and without. So I'm not sure about the question of a turnaround or anything else that Honorable Member may be alluding to.
You have earlier on admitted that you had a different view, but you have changed that view. But I am saying that based on the evidence available, the records we have here, it appears that the $1 billion application to the IMF is the cause for that U-turn. Are we right to come to that conclusion?
No, the IMF always had both with and without.
Yes, and the IMF country director said publicly that they disagree with you, your handling of the below-the-line items. Dr. Mama was clear about it. However, on the 6th of April, you seem to now align. Was it because there was $1 billion at stake?
Honorable MP, as I mentioned, those numbers have always been available to the fund, to us, in our budget, to Parliament.
Honorable Co-Chairs, how does the Honorable Finance Minister respond to the assertion by the proponents that we are where we are now, the debt distress status, the crashing out of the international bond market, and all the downgrades we are suffering from rating agencies because of this, what some people have called creative accounting, that it hid our true picture, our true financial situation, and that is why we are where we are now. How do you respond to that?
Honorable Co-Chair, we want an explanation of the expression creative accounting.
All right.
Creative accounting, where the IMF clearly states that they disagree with your kind of accounting, and they oppose the items that you treated below the line. That is how I am defining creative accounting.
So IMF didn't use the word creative accounting.
Yeah, those are my words.
Well, can we stick to the exact words used by the IMF then? Yeah?
I can withdraw creative accounting. The question still remains that your style of reporting, which we contend strongly and forcefully that is misreporting, is what really hid our true picture and created a certain false sense that this economy was robust. That is what has brought us to where we are, according to a lot of pundits and analysts. I want your views on that.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Your style of reporting. Co-chairs, once we as an institution decide on a certain methodology, it is open and transparent. We've gone through a lot of bond issuances. These are sophisticated investors who are clearly aware of all our numbers. Everybody always knew about the amount of resources we spent for the banking cleanup. In addition, knew about the liabilities we also inherited in the energy situation. So let's put any thoughts aside that our finances were being deliberately hidden and people did not have a clear view of that. Because in the IMF appendices, you will see with or without. And I think we should get that clear. That therefore there was complete visibility on those numbers. We can therefore not link them, in my mind, to the logic that you have proposed, that is what has led us to where we are.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, on this specific ground, the IMF insists that the decision you took, your style, your approach, deviated from international best practice. How do you respond to that?
I'm not sure, with due respect, co-chairs and honorable member, that is a fair characterization of how interpretation of treatments are, especially when the institution you allude to also records those numbers.
Actually, have they said that? Have they made the point? I need to be sure. Have they made that point? Where do we find that?
Yes, it's page 9 of the 2019. It's in the 2019 staff report.
2019.
Yeah.
All right, let me just put it
page
in the
9 of the 20.
Minister, it's supposed to be in one of those.
20,
is it your recollection that
2019 staff report?
I'm not sure. I was just wondering whether it's minister's recollection that IMF actually did make that statement.
Where is it?
Well, they are going through. But
if I can read it with your permission, Mr. Chairman. It says, I'm reading from the December 2019 IMF staff report.
Let's be clear if they have copies. Mr. Minister, is there a copy for you? Which page are you reading?
I'm reading from page 11, paragraph 16.
2019, page 11, paragraph 16.
Paragraph 16, yeah. Under public financial management, it says, the fiscal rules could be further strengthened, box 1. About 2.8 percentage points of GDP in financial and energy sector costs, financed in part through ESLA bond issuance, were recorded below the line in the 2019 budget because the government considers the financial sector cost as one-off and energy costs as debt amortization. Best international practice, emphasis mine, would include these transactions above the line as they reflect either direct government obligations or government transfers to SOEs. In addition, spending on roads, cocoa board, and potential infrastructure collateralized on bauxite exports, Sino-Hydro, should be recorded in the central government budget. Finally, a formal debt anchor targeting a sustainable debt-to-GDP ratio over the medium term could effectively guide fiscal policy and reduce uncertainty about the debt trajectory, unquote.
This is the matter that we dealt with when Atto made his submission, isn't it? And I think we did say that, well, they are not by this saying that they did anything wrong. They said that best practices...
My question was clear, that the IMF is saying that what they did deviated from international best practice.
No.
That's the IMF is saying that best international practice would include those costs.
Yeah. Well, yes.
I just read it. It's very clear.
No, it says that what they did deviates from best international.
Yes,
but
best
not,
international
but
practice.
not unlawful.
No, that was not my question. That was not my question. I'm just asking him that the IMF says what they did deviated from best international practice. So what does he say to that? What is his response?
Mr. Co-Chair and Honorable MP, the treatment of the one-time extraordinary expense for the banking cleanup, and then the inheritance of these colossal energy IPP, which we inherited from the previous government. You know, we had to be clear on how to treat that. And I think if you go to maybe the 2018 reports, you see clear understanding by the IMF as to that. Now the issue then as to our belief in that this was an extraordinary event and therefore it must be treated under the line, we all agree to that. As to the issue of best international practices or practices that are acceptable because of the unique nature of your circumstances, we have to make a judgment on that for a country that is growing. With that regard, it was those same numbers that we then use effectively to be able to also go to the international markets. Okay. Fiscal treatments, acceptance of liabilities, and how to ensure that you are able to finance your budget, get appropriate resources to go forward. Those are all considerations that we have to make. So I wouldn't really, with all due respect, make a judgment on the way in which we as a country or the ministry decided to treat this. And now we are getting out of that situation and therefore changing the way in which we do our treatment.
Honorable Ablakwa, are you done? Yes. Okay. Yes, Honorable Kwame Nimadu. Mr. Speaker, you are welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm welcoming you to the committee. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, is it true? It is true, is it not, that in the year 2018, Ghana was under the fund, the IMF. Is that correct?
Yes.
The proponents of this motion have actually made a statement here, and I would want you to clarify it. This is found at page 37 of the first day transcript. And the second paragraph, Honorable Atto says, and I quote, with your permission, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, again, section 2 says that the primary balance must always be positive. So if a minister breaches it by 1 percentage point, then obviously the vote of censure may trigger. What we have seen is that over the years, even though the minister responsible for finance has been presenting some economic data to Parliament, in the year 2018, Mr. Chairman, we can see it from the presentation projected on the screen, which he did, that Our Honorable Minister responsible for finance and the government has said to Parliament that the fiscal deficit was 3.8% of gross domestic product. In fact, in the year 2018, the reason why they said it was 3.9% of GDP was that a key expenditure worth 9.8 billion was excluded from the fiscal accounting. They treated it below the line, and this has to do with the financial sector payment. Now, my question is that when you present your financial reporting, since Ghana was under the IMF, what was the view of the International Monetary Fund over this period, 2018, if they provided any?
Thank you very much. You know, there was, when we came into government, co-chairs, Honorable, the issue in front of us was whether to a report which really suggested that our banks were bankrupt, and if we do not do something about it, we are going to get a real cataclysmic environment with people losing their savings. Now, that was not part of the expectation, but the ECF then had literally derailed. So we took the bold decision to move on with that. And the bank, the fund, agreed with us that given the extraordinary nature of that expenditure, we should treat that as such.
You are done. Thank you very much. Honorable Patrick Boma.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
No cross
Chairman,
examination.
This
yes.
The
or re-examination.
Proponents stated clearly on deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. I want to find out from the Minister the consequences of such an action on the country if it had happened, and whether this country has been subjected to any fines for misreporting to the fund before. Thank you.
No, I object. I raise a point of order, Mr. Chairman. The grounds.
Sorry.
No,
please.
He's misquoting the grounds.
Yes.
Did the grounds say that the misreporting was to the IMF? He didn't say that. Yes, to Parliament. So why are you saying that? Why are you talking about IMF sanctions? The misreporting was to Parliament. So please, let's quote the grounds properly.
So, let me refer Mr. Okujeto to
it says
the Minister's response on
deliberate
page 10.
and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. So how can IMF sanction you when it's the IMF Parliament?
So I'm coming to that. I'm referring you to the Minister's response on page 10, paragraph 23. And I quote, "In actual fact, in the most recent IMF Article 4 report for 2021, only sees clearly demonstrated that the methodology utilized in computing the deficit is and has been consistent with the table shown labeled so and so." So we are talking about a reporting formula to Parliament which is consistent with what the ministry has been doing to Parliament and to the fund, because you recall that we came out of the IMF program in 2019. That is the basis for my question. And I'm asking even if I exchanged Parliament with IMF, would there have been any consequences? And if so, whether it's happened before under the Fourth Republic? Allow the Minister to answer the question, please.
Thank you very much. I think that the sad, well, the fact of the matter is that we went through very successfully 2017 to the first quarter of 2019 to exit from the fund program which we inherited and from the previous regime. And yes, we wouldn't have been able to exit if there were this misreporting that they were talking about, and typically you get fined for that. As far as I know, historically, it's only the previous regime that had encountered a misreporting in which a fine was exacted.
Honorable Minister, well. No. Honorable Minister. Yes.
So you are so diplomatic, I don't understand your language. The previous government, is that a government he belonged to? Which one are you talking about?
It is. Well, the narrow ground is about misreporting to Parliament, not to the International Monetary Fund. So this. No, the Article 4 was to buttress the fact that there has been misreporting. So please. Okay. So that question is out of order. Do you have any other question? Do you have any other question, Honorable Pariboma? Honorable members, does anyone have any more questions? Oh, sorry. I thought you had taken your turn. Honorable Senator. Yes. We have about 12 minutes to our agreed lunch time. So if you can do it within that, that will be fine. Otherwise, we'll oblige you to continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Co-Chairs. My first question is to whether the Finance Minister and his team actually have a copy of the tendered in by the proponents with regards to deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. There was a PowerPoint presentation to find out whether they've actually seen it.
I think we asked the clerk to supply them with everything. Yes. Clerk to the committee.
Yeah, but if there's a copy here, we can throw his way, you know, then depending on the question, he can. Clerk, if you have a copy, sorry. Yeah, I'm asking if the clerk has got a copy.
We serve them with copies.
No, do you have a copy here? Yes? Is that a copy? Yeah, so they have one now. Yeah, so go on then.
Okay. On the page number 3, there's a table that refers to various indices, and it mentions 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. And it's talking about the percentage deficit. In 2018, it's 3.9, 2019, 4.8, 2020, 11.7, and 2021, 9.2. But below that, where a revision of the figures is made based on the what would have been below the line being brought above the line, the revised figures there, we have a percentage deficit of 7.1 for 2018, of 7.1 in 2019, 17.2 in 2020, and 12.4 in 2021. Can the minister kindly let us know if which of these figures were the ones that were used to inform the IMF of the indices regards Ghana?
Sorry, what do you want to what do you want to understand?
Asking the minister to provide some figures as to what figure had been presented to the IMF. This is a table that was given by the proponents. And what the proponents had said on these figures was that these numbers ought to have been the targets. That was what we should have received. It never came from the ministry. So I don't think it is fair to say that.
That was my understanding last time Ato came about with these figures. Then we asked him, and if my recollection is right, he said that these were figures they had taken out of some official documents and had placed them in what's the name?
So Kwame is objecting.
Sorry, what's the name? The projector, the presentation.
The
So
PowerPoint.
he said that he'd taken them out of those official documents presented here.
Is Kwame
So
objecting to
that's why I
what he
said we
said?
should give a copy
No,
to the
no,
minister. No, trying to get clarification. The document
No,
is,
no, no.
minister has got a document now. Let's
Honorable Member Soda.
let's get the minister to have a look at the document. He can respond. If it's nothing that he wants to say about it, he's not enthused about the figures, he can say it for himself. Mr. Minister, did you hear the question?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think it's a new question. I mean, it's the same chasing our tail as to whether the number is right or wrong. We have been very, very categorical that we know both numbers. The fund knew both numbers. Our budget knows both numbers. And therefore, Parliament always knew those numbers. Now, as to treatment, whether you add it up or you don't, that was also clear. So in the fund documents, you would also see with or without. I'm trying to understand the issue of treatment versus deliberate and dishonest.
Honorable Chair, my question was specific to the table. We have been given material, which is making reference to material that came from the Ministry of Finance, and all I'm trying to do, and my question at present, is to ascertain whether these figures are correct.
Minister, you get what he's saying. She's saying that these figures come as alleged by the proponents. These figures come from documents produced by you. Whether you agree with the nature IMF described it or not, it's an entirely different thing. But are you aware? Are they known to you? These figures, are they known to you?
Mr. Chair, these figures are known to us.
They are.
The issue of misrepresentation.
It's a different matter altogether.
Well, the issue of how they have then been represented here to give the impression as if these are numbers we would not have revealed, I think it's disingenuous.
Very well. Honorable Minister, that is your view. Can the honorable member then continue with a line of questioning? Honorable Zenato.
Zanato. Thank you.
That's a Frafra version.
To be on safe side, you realize that I've been calling her doctor. We all have to adopt that. You know. Zanato or Zena. You don't have my kind of tongue. How are you going to do it?
Very well. Honorable Ajiman Rollins. At least I can pronounce that one better.
Yes, thank you. Honorable Co-Chair, my question to the Minister is, given that both figures are familiar to the Ministry, was there a specific, I know he said copiously that conventionally, but was there a specific reason why the figures on the top line, which were the lower figures that I mentioned, were the ones used in the budget presented to Parliament as opposed to the ones that are below, which are the bigger figures, which I mentioned?
Mr. Co-Chair, I don't know whether, you know, my misunderstanding of English is here. I have consistently said that those numbers are in the books.
Honorable Minister, are you say, suggesting that we have a problem understanding our own questions.
No, I have a problem.
Very well.
Co-chair, I have a problem. I think it's a Chebi upbringing that is. I don't know how differently I can answer that question.
For the sanity of all of us, why don't you take the figures again and then explain, educate us? We probably need education from you. Try and let us comprehend what these figures are.
Mr. Chair, there's not much education involved here. There are numbers which lead, because of our treatment, to a certain deficit number. There are two incidents that we have experienced, i.e. the financial sector and the IPP, and both, Mr. Chairman, are results of legacy issues. Both are result of legacy issues, which we inherited and we were looking to resolve. And therefore, they were also classified as extraordinary events, and that is how we chose to treat them.
That's the answer, honorable member. So do we have another question, or we can go for a break now? Thank you very much. 3 o'clock, 1 hour, 4 o'clock. We'll be back. Thank you very much.